Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we are looking at the Marvel Rivals version 2025 or 110 balance post. So this is sort of like patch notes but not quite. They're discussing more the balance of the game. Of course there's a lot be covered in the patch notes as well, I imagine, but a little bit different in terms of what it's trying to do here. It's trying to be a little bit more clear about what changes are coming to the game balance wise. Also discussing what happened in season 0 with talking about comps such as Psylocke and Star-Lord kind of working together well to control the map, and then teams such as Adam Warlock, using Adam Warlock to really kind of those team up abilities with the Guardians, etc. And then a little bit more saying that they are not going to be doing too much with team ups this season, but they will change sort of going into season 2. Season 1 and season 0 are, for all intents and purposes, in terms of team ups, the same season, and they're not changing too much with that this time around, but they are going to be doing a few different things and adjustments and redesigns, etc. come season 2. So that's interesting in and of itself, but we have some patch notes here, and let me just expand these a little bit so we've got them a little bit closer to my eyes, because I am blind. I'm a blind individual. Okay, right. So first off, Captain America. Steve will receive some enhanced survivability, allowing more frequent entering and exit of the combat. Reduce the delay time for shield restoration after releasing Living Legend from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. So this basically means his shield is going to reduce, come back more quickly. And I think this is one of the biggest things for me regards Captain America. I always felt like that shield would go down, and I'm trying to like put it back up, and it's not coming back up because it's still like I still need a little bit more time to get that back. So this to me makes a lot of sense personally. Also getting in there and getting out of there, that's Cap's whole thing. So having a reduction on that cooldown as well is obviously very good, and giving him a little bit more health to allow him to survive that. I know I've been in a lot of scripts with Cap where I've almost barely got out. Having just that little bit more health will make me do that more comfortably, so definitely a fan of that. Also, I'm not quite sure what this means from 3,400 to 3,100. I could only assume, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but to me I'm thinking, is this some kind of background how they measure ults? Like, is the ult going to generate more quickly, reduce the energy cost for releasing Freedom Charge? And I can only think that basically you get your ultimate ability faster, which is good, because I think Cap's ult is a relatively minor ult compared to a lot of the other ults in the game, and I think this will change how you're using him, because you're getting in there more, you're using the ult, getting out, you're going in, disrupting, getting out. So him having a more kind of frequent ult, not necessarily your kind of Bucky level of ults, but I think this will be a good thing for certain. Now, Doctor Strange also got some changes. We'll be reducing the threat range and increasing the defense window of the Sorcerer Supreme. Add damage fall off to Maelstrom of Madness and Gamma Maelstrom, starting at 5 meters and reducing to 70% at 8 meters. I haven't got a super hang on Doctor Strange yet myself. He's probably the last tank that, so I played him relatively early, and I thought I was better at him than I was at Thor, but actually I'm starting to get better at Thor than I am at Doctor Strange. The other Vanguards I'm sort of pretty comfortable with, but I haven't had much use of this, so I don't really get the drop off. I don't know how that would feel, so I can't really talk too much on that, but I can talk about the shield, and seeing that the recovery rate is, again, similar to Cap, kind of going to happen a little bit faster. Good thing, of course, naturally. Thor, general, straightforward, some extra health, and a little bit more. He's not going to get stunned as much in his ult, which yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think, Thor needed some kind of, his ult a very fast ult, but also a very much easy ult to stop, very much like Wanda's. And I think, yeah, that's a good thing. And also just a little bit more health. I think Thor is one of those, he can be, if you don't hit buttons at the right time, he can be a very squishy character compared to some of the others. Like Cap, I mean, look, 6-7, like this is going to be 6-7-5 versus 5-2-5 now. So when he's got the shield, it's great, but if he hasn't got one of those off just at that moment, he can be a little bit squishy. So that's great. Give him a little bit more survivability. Hulk's actually been nerfed a little bit. Basically, his Gamma Shield will be 200 versus 250. I don't think this is going to make any major differences in a lot of scenarios, but I think it makes it so that he is not you know, there's certain ults that might, or certain, you know, abilities, like if you pop this during a Punisher ult now, as opposed to soaking up a decent bit of damage, you know, that's 50 that's going to go on your health bar instead. So, you know, it makes a little bit more sense. You've got to have kind of a way to deal with Hulk. He's a very big, especially if he's got his ult, he can basically let you take all of that damage out and then kind of go back and just kind of put it all back, and you've got to go again. So reducing his shield on top of that, probably a very good idea. Venom here, increase the symbiotic resilience bonus health ratio gained per lost point from 1 to 1.2. Venom is all about getting health back, so that makes a lot of sense to me personally. And this one, I think, is Venom's ult is probably the most underwhelming ult in the game to me. To see it get a little bit of a boost damage-wise from 40 to 50, I think is a good thing. It's going to make him a little bit more scary. Venom should be scary. So again, very happy with this. I think the Vanguard changes generally are top notch and just kind of tightening what they already had, because the Vanguards, I think, aren't too broken. I don't think any of them are broken. I think they just needed a little bit more time to cook, so to speak. Now, Black Panther, I've already seen people saying it's over for Black Panther here, and I do think they've gone very knee-jerk on this, if I'm honest. So reduce the additional health provided to self after refreshing Vibranium marks with Spirit Blend from 40 to 30, and the upper limit of additional health provided from 120 to 75. See, personally, if it was me, this I think is fine. I think this first part is fine. I don't think that's too bad. That's 10. It's a small difference that will mean he can kind of be dealt with a little bit swifter. But I think that's a big drop. That's a big drop to me. I personally, if it was me, they're going to do 2 balance patches, or like 2 big balance patches, I'm assuming, within this season, because they're talking about season 1 part 1 and then season 1 part 2. I would have personally dropped this to something like, let's say 90 or something like, or 95 even to begin with. And then if it wasn't still feeling like it felt like he was too powerful, dropped it again. I think that's a big drop. That's like another what? I'm trying to think off the top of my head now. I'm not good at maths. I'm not good at maths. So that's like 25 plus 45. That was very easy, actually. I don't know why I was taking so long. 45, that's like quite a big drop. I would have personally went half and then half again, me personally. But, you know, there you go. So that's fine. Black Widow, I think these are some good changes, but I don't know if it's going to make her really kind of more of a pick, so to speak. Increase the range of the first effective Edge Dancer from a 3-meter radius to a 5-meter radius. And this one I think is more interesting to me. Reduce the time required for Fleetfoot to recover from 0 stamina to full from 12 seconds to 4 seconds. This means she's going to be a lot more mobile, which I think, you know, considering she's to use an Overwatch reference, she's Widowmaker, right? Widowmaker had that hook all the time to be able to get around the map. And it feels like sometimes on Widow, I'm trying to jump, on Black Widow, I'm trying to jump, and I do not have that part. I don't have that yet. So I get that for sure. Also, reducing the time on Electroplasma. You know, people scatter. So I get why they've done this. It means that you, like, 1 second to 0.6 means that you can kind of get a lot more people in that before they scatter. Now, we're on to the big ones. Hawkeye. Hawkeye has kind of been dominating in a lot of ways. So they're reducing, basically they're reducing the spread angle. And so in a way, I think this actually, I think this actually is kind of interesting, because it means that you're kind of reducing the trigger distance of passive ability Archer focus as well. And yeah, I think I'm trying to like put it into game, because you see it in the patch, don't you? Think that's interesting, but you don't know how it's going to play out yet. But basically, he's going to have a little bit less of that, literally says here, will be decreasing the medium long range damage capability, reducing the threatening combat radius, and slightly improving the close combat resistance for the Avenging Archer. So basically, yeah, this I think is, I was trying to think if that was what I was actually thinking. So he's actually got a little bit better with his up close arrows, and then his long arrows, he's been reduced slightly. So a little bit more survivability when someone gets up in your face, but a little bit less of an oppressive force at distance. Do you know when you look at it and sometimes you think, am I reading this right? Because when you see reduce, you generally think good. but sometimes it's not. And then sometimes you see increased or whatever, and that can be good. Like increased health is good, but sometimes increased, like it's hard terminology sometimes, because you think, oh, it's increased, but actually that's a bad thing. It's like, so that was where I was kind of getting wrong there. I haven't played loads of Hawkeye either, so that's probably part of that. Anyway, Hela, the goddess of death, has been a menace and will slightly decrease her combat strength. So literally just reducing her health here. There's still other stuff for Hawkeye and Hela. So if you haven't already read these, wait a little bit. But yeah, I think I've seen a lot of Helas get away on next to no health. So this is a really good one, just to mean you can get her when she's being very annoying in the back line of her team. And then as well, I think this is probably one of the underappreciated but relevant updates in this patch. Now, I personally still think Magik needs some kind of extra health or some kind of immunity when she's changing forms to begin with, but an increase to the attack damage by 20 per attack in her Darkchild form is good. I think I to be honest, not that it can be threatening if you've got a good Magik or they've got a good Magik, but generally I hear beware Darkchild and I don't feel anything. I don't feel scared. I don't feel worried. I just do the deal, you know? So like, you just continue on. So I feel like that needs to change for certain. And Moon Knight's all regarded as old. I think he's a very strong character at the moment. They don't want to mess with that too much. But basically more hands in the Khonshu ult itself, and then the radius of those hands are being increased. Basically, the more, they're called talons here, but yeah, they're being increased. So Moon Knight's ult, which arguably again one of the more dismal ults in the game, is going to be a little bit stronger, a little bit more powerful. So that's good. Namor doesn't get much of a touch up actually, which is interesting, at least not here. And basically, it's just about you're throwing your spawn, your monstrous spawn, and the frozen spawn in a better way. They'll land a little bit more closely to where you wanted them to land. Psylocke, I don't think needed much, to do really to be changed, but they're basically gonna make it check for barriers. I don't know why that took me so long to get out, but yes, it's basically going to stop people from. It says here again, we're providing more options for other heroes to counter the Demon Slayer's ultimate. So it's actually a win in a sense, because with it checking for barriers, it means that before it was going through them, now it isn't. So there. And Punisher actually got a little bit of an update as well, which I think, for me personally, I actually quite like, because I think it doesn't change him to an extent where he's overpowered, but it does mean you can get a little bit more precise with him. Basically reduce the spread of his two weapons. And that's a win, I think, overall. Scarlet Witch, we're increasing Wanda's combat strength when she's facing duelists or strategists. So basically, Chaos Control's fixed damage is up. The reduced percentage damage per second is down, but you also get a little bit more on Chthonian bursts as well. So I think overall, it obviously is because they're saying we're increasing. It's a little reduction here, which means that over time it's not going to be like ticking up. But what is really good, of course, is that you're getting a little bit more on her basic attack. And I think that's all that maybe really need to tune on her, apart from maybe her ult giving her something to kind of get it off a bit more. I think the rate of Wanda ults not getting out now is kind of a little frustrating, but I think there's ways to counter it, and I think it's that should be done through team play a little bit more, rather than maybe buffing it. I don't think the Wanda ult needs buffing really when it kills people outright. Anyway, Storm, the Weather Witch, need an overall increase to her damage capability. We're also optimizing the feel of her left click projectile and the release experience of her ultimate ability. So increased Windblade projectile speed. So it hits the enemy faster, and the left click damage is up. So is the Bolt Rush damage to 80, and then after releasing Omega Hurricane, the bonus health provided. I think this is actually a really good one. So basically, the health that she gets during the ult is up, and also it will diminish over time. So you'll have about 4 seconds after your ult of extra health. So if you want to go in and hit someone who's like kind of nearly finished off by your ult, great. Or if you want to get out because you're not comfortable with where you are, then yeah, That's great. Squirrel Girl's ult now basically homes in on a target, but because of this, they've reduced the health by half. This basically means Squirrel Girl's ult is actually worth something because it will. If you send it at someone, you're going to kill someone, but you're probably only going to kill one person. That's sort of the difference there. Winter Soldier has a few changes, actually quite a few. And long story short, it is adjusting Bucky by decreasing his long range combat strength and increasing his survivability in medium close range combat. So long story short, basically you're going to be able to, with all this, increase the bonus health provided by Bionic Hook, increase Rotor Stern's projectile damage from 70 to 75, reduce the area damage from 70 to 65, and reduce damage decay from 65% at 40 meters to 60%, and increase the base health from him as well. So basically he's going to be able to get in there a little bit more, and not that he isn't doing that now, to be fair. I don't think maybe he needed changing. Me personally, I think you just need to be skilled at him. That's my take, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to have they're definitely defining their characters a little bit more, because I think Winter Soldier was always meant to be a character to get in there. You don't really want him to be also good at range, because then people are like annoying people at range and then getting in there as well. You have to have characters with shortfalls, right? And I think that's what they were kind of doing a little bit with Hawkeye. They're trying to just ease it back on one and give a little bit more to another to allow for a little bit of play style in both ways, but that he's not too oppressive at range. But also they don't want to make him like super good up close, because people will start being like these kind of ambushing snipers. So you've got to take your kind of kind of balance both ways, right? Wolverine, so he's getting 50 straight away to his base health, and then they are reducing the damage reduction 10% on his Undying Animal. So overall, I think it's actually going to work out better. Obviously, you've got 50 health, but you're losing 10% here, but I think that's sort of fine. Basically, he'll be able to get in there a little bit more and then get out again. Strategists, now, Cloak and Dagger, reduced Dagger Storm cooldown from 15 seconds to 12 seconds. So that means that you're going to be able to get a little bit more healing, which is obviously great. Now, this one increased the number of dashes in Eternal Bond, the ultimate, from 3 to 4. I don't know about this one, right? I don't know, because personally, if I was going to make their ult better, I would either make the 3 dashes larger, or I would make them damage more to kind of make it a little bit more scary. I think it's one of those ults where you hear it and then you go, oh, okay, and then you walk out of it. I feel like it should kind of hurt you a little bit more. And also, if it was a little bit bigger, you know that your allies are going to stand in it if you kind of get the point. You know you're going to be able to get the point. So personally, I don't know if the 4 actually helps, especially when the 4, and I know it stacks, but especially the 4 is just going to cover the same sort of area because people are going to kind of put it in the same space. So I don't know about that one, but people who play Cloak and Dagger at higher levels will probably use this to a fascinating degree, and they'll probably like box off an area almost. You can probably box off a point almost fully at that point. But yeah, I personally would have made the damage more, or made the size of the dashes bigger. Me personally, that's how I would have done it. They've also, and I think this is probably one of the best ones they've done here altogether. They're adjusting Jeff's ultimate ability range from 10 meters sphere to a 10-meter radius. So what that means is the ground. It's a ground. It won't get people in the air. First off, 5-meter high cylindrical spell field. So yeah, essentially it won't be getting people if you're high up. Or at least it shouldn't, from what I'm gathering here. He also is getting a little bit more healing per tick, which I think is welcome, because people are picking Jeff to kind of be a little bit more oppressive with him, but I think there should be a little bit more healing to him so that he can fulfill the role that is sort of his primary role, right? Or intended as his primary role. Now, again, similar abusive ults here. Luna, you're not going to be able to switch between healing and damage quite as quickly now. They say, while we've enjoyed her dropping the base, we've made adjustments to Luna's ultimate ability to prevent players from abusing its healing capabilities. So basically, you're not going to be able to change between damage and healing swiftly like before. And I think this is the correct change, but I did enjoy kind of really spamming that. I thought it was very funny. But I think there's other reasons as well. You have to consider that if people are playing the game and there's like that kind of abrupt changing of lights, that's something to think about as well. So I think this serves a gameplay purpose, but also a sort of a safeguarding feels like a bit strong of a word to use, but essentially that, right? And then Mantis is basically going to be slower from now on. Her movement bonus is going down. I think that's correct. I feel like it's weird that you get Mantis to the point before half of the team sometimes, and like, to me, Mantis is she's a like sort of DPS healer. She can do quite a bit of both, but I do think it's very weird seeing a Mantis run ahead of me as a DPS a lot of the time. So personally, I like that change. It means that Mantis is going to be kind of in the back, seeing things as it happens a little bit more. And I think that's a good thing. You need your healers to kind of be aware of the whole situation. And sometimes if they're ahead of you, the whole situation is behind them, right? So in my opinion, that kind of works out on the board. And then Rocket Raccoon, I actually am really happy with this one. A little bit more healing. I don't think it's going to change him from being a heal bot necessarily in how he works, but I think 60 to 70 means that you're going to be able to kind of get a little bit more damage in at times. I've seen games where someone as Rocket has done like 90 damage, and that's kind of all you can maybe get out sometimes as Rocket, because you've just got to pump the healing the way it goes. So seeing 70 per second there is a little bit better in my opinion. Now, team ups. Hawkeye's basically, his season bonus has been reduced by 5%. This is why I was saying hold your horses regards Hawkeye and Hela, because the same thing has happened to her, which basically means overall they're doing less damage. They're doing 5% less damage overall, which is obviously a big win. That means that they're going to be a lot more in line with other heroes and not as oppressive in terms of this coming season. Namor's Frozen Spawn has been basically buffed big time, so he is more of a pick as regards that turret. That's just a win across the board. Increased Frozen Spawn damage, slowing effect, and Berserk state, so perfect. Rockets, infinite ammo for Winter Soldier and Punisher. I don't know if this necessarily needed changing, because I don't feel like I even hit it that much if I was playing Rocket and I had a Punisher or Winter Soldier, which maybe is a flaw of me, but I didn't feel like I needed like loads and loads because everyone was kind of killing things anyway. But reduced by 5 seconds. So that's probably going to work out overall. It's going to be like you can use it more in a match, because what's the point in having a team up that you can't actually use, to be fair? And then Scarlet Witch and Magneto, they were saying that the team up is kind of underwhelming. Now, I personally didn't feel that way. I felt like I really enjoyed the Magneto, the Magneto team up and his great sword with the chaos energy, but I will take the upgrade to it. I will take the more damage on it. That it's great to see. I think it's going to make him even more powerful with Scarlet Witch, of course, and you're going to probably see that pick a little bit more because of that. And then last off, Storm will be getting a boost to her side of the cooldown for their Voltaic Union, reduce the cooldown to 15 seconds and increase the damage of Charged Gale from 50 to 55. So a little bit of a boost there, which means that Storm has kind of really gone up from sort of down here to up here. We might even have to do a new tier list as soon as season 1 comes out, so maybe that's something you guys will look forward to. If you guys want to see that, let me know. Until then, I think these are a lot of positive changes. I think the one that I think they're all very balanced changes and very thoughtful changes. I think the one they've jumped the gun on maybe is Black Panther just a little bit, because I think whilst Black Panther can be oppressive if you've got a good one, I don't think you see a lot of people who have really got to grips with Black Panther in the same way as you see annoying Iron Fists and annoying Spider-Man currently. But that could change, and we'll see how that kind of feels. It might still be, if you're a good Black Panther, you should be getting in and out anyway. In my opinion, if you're good at what you're already doing, it really won't change that much, but we'll see how it pans out in game. If you guys have enjoyed this, if you guys want to see more content like this, let me know. If you haven't already, maybe hit that subscribe and the thumbs up, and leave a comment if you disagree or agree with anything I've said here. Always glad to discuss. And until next time, until season 1 releases now, probably, unless the patch drops tomorrow, which it probably will, the patch note, should I say. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.